Parole.
If you're a registered sex offender in Albany County, chances are you've reported to parole officer Mike Hobb. Managing sex offenders has been his sole responsibility for the past 6 years, and this Halloween we rode with him as he made the rounds in Colony. Our first stop, the home of a level 3 who spent 3 years in prison and will be on parole for the next decade for having sexual contact with a preteen cousin.
As we're driving up, what are you looking for? What do you have in mind as we drive up?
Well, I'm basically looking for area residents that may be already trick-or-treating, and I might sit out in front of the parolee's house for a little while to see if anybody actually goes up to the door and attempts to go trick-or-treating at their residence, and see if they even answer the door.
And as we pull up, do you see anything that may raise any eyebrows?
Not at the moment. They're not supposed to decorate their house inside or out with any Halloween decorations. They're not supposed to have any excess amounts of candy.
With no trick-or-treaters around, Hobb decided against doing any surveillance, and we went to the door.
We'll walk up, we'll knock, and see if he answers, and hopefully he's in there.
All right, so we're walking up to the house now.
Next time you hear a knock, just say, "Who is it?"
All right. Inside, Hobb was not happy with what he found: an Xbox, which a sex offender could use to access the internet, toys under the bed, and a photo album in a dresser drawer.
Who are all these people? You remember your parole condition where you're not supposed to have any pictures of any minors without my knowledge or consent?
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to take this book.
Hobb let the parolee go with what amounts to a warning for now. Further up Central Avenue, we headed to the home of a sex offender who told Hobb he'd be at work.
We're at a house in Colony where the person wasn't home. What do you do in this case?
The parolees are instructed to call me in their work schedule. If he is in fact here, we would go to the work and verify it. Most times with a phone call to the parolee saying, just come on outside, show me your face, and the last thing we want to do is blow up their spot at their job, because we want to focus on these guys getting a job and reintegrating back into the community.
We continued west towards Schenectady to two well-known sex offender housing spots, the Sky Lane Motel and the Bluebell Motel. There are a half dozen offenders to check in on. One of them, who's supposed to be inside at all times on Halloween, was found hanging out his front door.
No, I look out every so often.
Not a good idea.
No? Okay.
No, not on a night like today. You want fresh air today, crack your window.
Okay.
Don't be hanging out your door.
In the same unit, we visited with 26-year-old Kyle Colarutolo, a level 2, who served a year behind bars for having oral sex with a 13-year-old. Kyle is permanently disfigured and uses a wheelchair to get around. He says on Halloween it really hits home that he's a registered sex offender.
The most embarrassing point is Halloween, to be honest with you. I don't have a drug or alcohol abuse history. Curfew's not a problem for me. It's more so just the embarrassment of this. Just the most embarrassing thing is just having the attention focused on people. You make one mistake and for the next, I have 5 years post-release supervision, I have to deal with this. He does his job, but I just feel like my boundaries are being crossed, you know? I have to deal with being a sex offender for the rest of my life, so having to deal with this for 5 years is kind of hard.
At the end of the day, there were no major issues. Hobb, who is armed, didn't have to make any arrests. He says he appreciates all the positive feedback from the community and says the most difficult part of the job is hoping he's done enough to keep sex offenders from preying on others.
Mostly it's the hoping that something doesn't go wrong. That gets tough to deal with. Is the hope that nothing goes wrong, and just by us and having our presence out there, it helps a little bit.
Jim Knapp, News Talk, WGY.